The moment that many around the country and the Metroplex are waiting for is upon us, as Jerry is joining us right now on DFW Sports Station. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
And how you doing, RJ? Good to be on with you guys.
Oh, man, that stings. That stings, Jerry. RJ's the only one not here today.
Well, did he want to avoid the confrontation?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Jerry, what do you want to say, if anything, about last week?
I don't have anything to say about last week. I'm happy, though, that I must tell you I'm surprised that last week got the attention it got. But, really, when I think about what we try to do on this show, for me, is I think we give you 2 shots a week that I get on, and Steven gets on once or twice, and Mike, I don't know if Mike gets on or not, but those are really a privilege. It's kind of like pillow talk. You get some inside stuff. As you know, I don't go before the normal press conferences during the week usually.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of thing that I would expect and how I would answer it relative to many of your questions. You're going to ask me today because Henry had a big night, Derrick Henry last night. You're going to ask me again. How come when Henry was available and right here in Dallas said we didn't get him? And I will tell you, the same kind of question is one that my wife might ask me of 60-something years. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I really don't know why I did that. The devil made me do it. And so my point is, those kinds of questions are pointedly toward putting you on a spot to make a certain kind of answer.
Yeah.
I've obviously been asked that Derrick Henry question almost every day since we started training camp. And so that's a get in your ass type of question.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I see that coming, and that's real good. Mm-hmm. But when you do it several times, and of course, I keep up with what you guys say when I'm not on the show. And so when you do it several times, I know that when you're asked about a question such as one that you might have at home, why did you do that? And you do it several times, then you really know what the situation is, where it's coming from. So those are the kinds of things that this show, to me, can and be about. For instance, if you ask me how I make a decision, I would say I'd maybe go back to a story of when I was buying the Cowboys. And we got down to where there was a $300,000 difference. And we couldn't get by it, the man that sold the team to me. And so he suggested we flip a coin. And we flipped that coin, and I lost. I really got screwed. I ended up with the Dallas Cowboys. My point is, I don't know why I called heads rather than tails, and I couldn't explain to you why I called heads rather than tails. But some of this stuff works out, some of it doesn't. That's the kind of thing and the kind of answers I would expect us to be talking about on this show.
Yeah. And I get all that, and normally we're usually on the same page in terms of the topics and the subjects. That's why I think last week threw us off a little bit. But look, man, as I've said multiple times, Jerry, you've provided us, radio gold, and it is a privilege to be able to do this show with you for 15 years. And we had some fireworks, and that's kind of the way I view it, despite the payment and suspension and move the show and all that stuff, because we're usually in lockstep. So I understand that.
Listen, here's the thing. The fact that we've been doing it 15 years shows that someplace in between there, we got comfortable in our skin doing these type things. And we did get comfortable with it. Now, I'm tickled to death that we have as much interest in this as we do. And as you well know, but guys, I have no issue, and you know that. As a matter of fact, you've said that. I have no issue with getting up in front of a bunch of media and people of journalism and asking the question and answering, getting questions and answering.
Yeah. And
I don't have any problem with that. Would you agree with that?
Yes, totally.
And again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but the point is that we've, in my mind, we're not playing very good football right now at all. And it's beyond whether or not we have Derrick Henry or not. Derrick Henry is having a career year. I don't know if he'd be having that career year in our situation. And that's really something you really do have to look at, because if he had not had as many carries as our running backs have had, then he certainly probably wouldn't have attained the level of impact he's having. And then he's a real good complement to the type of offense they run. We don't run that type of offense at all. Our situation is more about, frankly, it's more about holding your blocks. It's more about not making mistakes. It's more about, in my mind, the receivers running through a tough man-to-man coverage and running on through it. And, if you will, get away from that. The types of things that we all think we should be looking at is, well, we're designing bad plays or we're designing bad concepts. The facts are that there's some of that, but there's also some of execution. There's some of the talent. I like our talent. I really do like our talent. I like our young talent, but young talent has a few more mistakes associated with it than if you are dealing with a veteran player. Although you've got to have young talent, as I've said. Derrick Henry didn't fit because principally of managing the cap, in anticipation of the players that we were going to sign weeks later, or anticipation of the players we're going to be signing in the future.
Jerry Jones here on 105.3 The Fan. Jerry, I thought Mike was very detailed yesterday in his bye-week recap. Can you tell us from your perspective some of the things you guys really wanted to refocus or address during the bye week?
Well, we need to really, from every one of us, need to evaluate where we've made decisions we'd like to have back. And I'm talking about every one of us. I have to do it all the time. And so Mike has to do that from his standpoint. He said that yesterday. And then he has to ask each player, let's sit down and see what we can do. Players, when they want to work on something, they usually go out with the help of a teammate or sometimes with the help of the entire defense if you're an offensive player. And you work on what it is you're short on. I remember DeMarcus Ware used to stay out after practice with our tackles. Not for DeMarcus, but for the tackle's benefit of being able to basically get out, quote, take his steps, keep his knees bent, and basically be able to handle DeMarcus Ware. Those guys worked on those kinds of things. They do it now. They just need more of it.
Jerry Jones joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Jerry, you got San Francisco coming up this week, and they've obviously been a thorn in the side for you guys. Is this a game you would consider a measuring stick type game or a must-win game potentially for where you guys are at this season?
Listen, we're 3-3, and we all saw it, and we know how we ended up beating Cleveland. We know what we didn't do against New Orleans. We know what we did do against Pittsburgh. You can take all of that. You know, all that counts is what we're doing out here next week against San Francisco and the games after that. Can we be a better team? Can we be, let's say, have better field position in the overall schemes? I'm not talking about really being out on the field. But can we get ourselves where we don't have some things happen to us like happened to us the other day and we get run out of the stadium? Yes, we can. Of course we can. And I remember when I changed and went to Jason Garrett, and we were 1-7. And basically, we had the same difference in the score against Green Bay. It was exactly the same difference as against Detroit. And we go up to New York and we win that game the week we changed out the coaching. Now, I've regretted making that change, just so you know. If I had that to do over again, I might not have done it. What I'd love to have done is sit down and talk to Wade when Wade came in and said, we needed better defense. I need to find me a defensive coordinator, and I'm the best defensive coordinator I know. Well, he is, because all he did was go over to Denver, and I've never heard this in the NFL, but people around the league said they won that Super Bowl because of coaching, Wade Phillips. And I let him out of here just because of that. Now, we did win the next game from that standpoint after having the same kind of spread that we had the week before here. So those are just the kind of experiences that make you know that you can make these decisions, but there's a good chance that you're making it and you should have gone the other way. Now, what you have to do is take those bad decisions and bust your butt and get out and make those better or good decisions when you've made them and you look back and say, I wish I'd gone the other way. You got to do something about them if you can. Wise man told me one time, the man upstairs didn't make it to where most people make decisions about 50-50. It's what you do with the bad decisions and what you do with the good decisions that's a differentiator.
Jerry, you talk about San Francisco and this game coming up this weekend. You do have, it sounds like the 49ers are going to be missing several key contributors, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, potentially Deebo Samuel. How do those players missing from San Francisco change your standards, if at all, for what you want to see from your team against them?
Well, first of all, not having really outstanding players is absolutely a part of the NFL. That's part of having a team. There's very few, if any, that I can recall that haven't had major injury adjustments as you go along. That's just like being a boxer and stepping up there and getting jabbed. You know you're going to get jabbed and going to get hit on the nose many times. Well, injuries are a part of that. You have to have the depth. You have to have the readiness to overcome those injuries, or at least be competitive to be satisfied in the mirror or be satisfied for our fans. So I really don't think that San Francisco should be looked at as what they don't have. Now, strategically, if they were weak, we thought Detroit was weak in the secondary. So we came out firing at the secondary. That was our game plan, to fire at the secondary. Had you had it to do over again, you might have done it a different way. Against San Francisco, I don't know that apart from just one-on-one areas of both sides, defense, offense, really even special teams, how we will address they've got young players or new players at that position. And it could affect you, but in general, that's San Francisco we're playing out there. And you're right, they've put it on us the last several times.
Jerry Jones here on Shan and RJ, or RJ and RJ, 105.3 The Fan, as Choppy would like it to be renamed. Jerry, what did you think of Troy Aikman's wide receiver comments about route running? And in y'all's film study, did you see any of that and agree with any of what Troy said?
Troy knows football. My goodness, he lives it. When he was here, he's one of the most astute and hardworking people I've ever seen at evaluating tape or looking at how a team is playing. Troy's credible, boy, and should be. And not only that, you can imagine he's not just interested in taking a whack at the Cowboys. He feels as much or more than anybody does about the Cowboys. He's very professional. I think he's very fair. And certainly you can look at what we've been doing. You can look at such things as the separation compared to other teams. That's that analytics that you work with today. But fundamentally, I was talking with Mike, and our players need to work on, when they've got tight coverage, they need to work on pushing on through physical contact, pushing on through it. Now, that's just an example. That's not the only thing. But I'm pretty confident that we've got the ability to coach, and we've got some receivers that take the coaching and can improve. That's the big thing, improve.
Jerry, Amari Cooper was traded this past week. I know that it's a different year. Supply and demand is obviously different. But when a guy gets traded, a guy that you have previously traded, do you ever take a step back, compare compensation? Is there anything you can learn from compensation packages from trades around the league, especially when there is a similarity like the Amari trade?
Yeah, absolutely I can. We went for the dollars. When we traded Amari Cooper, we saved almost $20 million for our cap and in the future. We took a lesser draft pick to get that savings. When he made this move the other day, Cleveland went for more draft pick and less savings. It was very simple.
Jerry, when you look at the injuries situation with Micah Parsons and Deron Bland, do you anticipate having either one of those guys available for San Francisco this weekend?
Yeah, and you can't tell today. I visited right before we came on with our trainers, and we've got to see how they're playing, how they're running, how the exercise or the running of the prior day, how they're affected the next day. We're not going to be able to tell their availability until right at game time, in my view.
Jerry, I'm interested in asking you about Tom Brady ownership. A lot of talk about conflict of interest. Are you going to be paranoid? We've seen you a lot of times with Tom before the games down on the field. He's now got some broadcasting restrictions. Is that a competitive advantage? Do you worry about Brady scouting extra, knowing stuff you're doing? Your comments and reaction to Tom Brady, NFL owner.
Yeah, I think we all live lives with an element of compromising. And I think it's different strokes for different folks. And there's certainly the idea that, hey, he's not going to be able to help being for the Raiders if he owns a part of the team. So that's there. But as far as his integrity, as far as coming in, and by the way, he's doing a great job. But as far as coming in and getting some confidential inside information that could impact the outcome of the game, I would bet my life that he will be not only responsible, but he'll be honorable. And there's no question in my mind he will be. And so I don't have the sensitivity of him talking to our coaches around the league and giving the Raiders an ultimate big edge. I don't see that.
Jerry, last question for you. With the trade deadline coming up in a couple of weeks, I know everyone's always talking to you about buying and buying and buying, but if the next couple of weeks don't go as you'd like, is there a possibility that maybe you would consider going the other direction and trying to get some value for the future and taking on the role of a seller?
Yeah, I don't see anything that would impact us in any way. I made the decision of how we're going. We made the decision of how we're going forward when I extended Dak and when I signed CD. And so that should have and does put you in a direction that you're going. So that if you see us moving in any way by chance during this trade deadline, trading somebody, that would be because that we are going in a different direction with defense, offense, whatever you want to do. Obviously, we're going in different directions than we did with Quinn in a small part. And so the same skill, the same player might not work as well in what we want to do with Zimmer as we do as we had when we had Quinn. And you also see the very obvious. You better be thinking about what you want to look like 3 and 4 years from now when you pick up a player or make a big trade or you draft somebody. You better adapt it to where you're going to go. For instance, has anybody thought about that if you're going to invest a huge amount of money in a running back, you better be planning on running the ball. Running the ball. Okay. If, for instance, we wanted to balance it more, then you might not have had as much emphasis on the running back. And so that's just one of the many issues that comes through your mind, and you got to get that straight before you make these decisions that take a lot of space out of your cap for the next 3 or 4 years. So all of that goes into it.
This last one is a selfish question for us to try to make some money. Jerry, would you, being the marketing genius that you are, would you rename this show the Yahoos or the Tribunal?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I love the lightness of the Yahoo aspect of it. I really do. I really do. Humor or lightness in my life has been vital, because when you get in tough spots or when you get in tough angst, a little humor at the right time in the foxhole is some good stuff. I love the job that y'all do, and you do have an element of that. Now, that still doesn't keep it. I asked Michael Irvin one time, who I'd rather be in a dark alley with Mike than anybody I know. But when Mike really gets going, he starts laughing. And the more scared he is, the more rough it is, the more he laughs. And so the point is, we all have different ways of dealing with angst or dealing with pressure. I like the way we do this show. And I'll tell you this right now, I don't think it does us any harm at all to have disagreements. I don't think it does any harm to show emotion. I think all of that is a part of it. I saw recently where somebody said, boy, you can't be in this game, certainly as a player or coach or what have you, without showing temper, without showing emotion. And I think you guys do a great job of that. I try to basically have more than just answers that you could get by reading the paper. I try to do that, and sometimes with emotion, and I'm not reluctant to show emotion.
Well, look, it's good to have you back. We appreciate it as always, as we have for 15 years. Thank you for the time as always, and good luck in San Fran.
You bet, guys. Have a good day.